Does this leave the handshake 18 months on the March 9, 2018 cooperation deal between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga was seen as the ultimate political ceasefire? Today, with the benefit of hindsight, we take stock. I am Ben Kitilian. This is Kenya's premier Sunday morning political program, Inside Politics, here on KTN News. We thank you for joining us. Be sure to stay with us and stick with us for the next 120 minutes as we try to dissect the biggest political and policy issues in this republic. Let's get right into it. And Jubilee Party candidate for the Kibra by-election, Mariga, will on Monday know whether his name will be on the ballot. Mariga told Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC Dispute Resolution Committee, that he is a registered voter in Starehe constituency, and that the Kibra constituency returning officer, Beatrice Muli, erred when she failed to clear him for the race. A senior IEBC official on Friday confirmed that Mariga is a registered voter.
We have invalidated Mariga's nomination.
On Tuesday, Jubilee Party aspirant Mariga's nomination for Kibra by-election, scheduled for November 7th, was rejected on grounds that his details were missing in the voters' register. Mariga appealed against the decision by the returning officer to red card and lock him out of the race. The IEBC Dispute Resolution Committee convened Friday to hear Mariga's petition.
He's prima facie a registered voter. He has a right to vie.
Registration of voters is a continuous exercise as required by law. And upon the submission by the complainant of the registration acknowledgement receipt by the IEBC, that in itself alone form the basis.
What the complainant has attached to his complaint is basically an acknowledgement slip. It is not evidence of registration.
The IEBC officer for Kibra by-election says she cleared 23 aspirants who were validly nominated and rejected 3 others for various reasons, including Mariga. Mariga says he was registered as a voter on 26 August 2019 in Karioko Social Hall polling station in Starehe constituency. This was confirmed by a senior IEBC official.
We used the KIMS to verify if the aspirant is a registered voter in line with the legal requirements. All other aspirants were treated the same way. However, the details of the aspirant Mariga Wanyama could not be found in the provided register of voters.
They recorded the details in there's a voters registers book where you record the name, the ID number, and the acknowledgement slip number. Then after that, I wrote an acknowledgement slip for him and remained with the counterfoil.
You confirm that this acknowledgement slip is an authentic document from your office?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
In July 2013, the High Court sitting in Nairobi rejected the nomination of lawyer Kathy Kilonzo as the Opposition Coalition for Reform and Democracy Code candidate for Makueni senatorial by-election. Mariga says his case is different.
There is a decision of the High Court, a 3-judge bench on the Kathy Kilonzo case, which says this slip is not really, does not have any property value. In fact, what you need is more look at the register. Is it? Would you want to say anything about that?
It was interpreting the 2013 law. And that case, correct on its law, is inapplicable in a complaint founded on the 2017 law. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, the prescription that the applicant shall be issued with an acknowledgement slip upon registration is an innovation of the new law that therefore stands unimpeached by the 2013 interpretation of the law.
Another thing also which came out in that case is that after further investigating the register, the petitioner in that case actually was not a registered voter. And in this case, there is no argument that has come up that upon further investigation outside the slip, that the complainant in this case is not actually registered.
Here is Mariga's prayer.
The right to decide who will represent Kibera constituency after this by-election is not for us as a technical decision. It's a democratic decision of the people of Kibera, having been given the full menu of choices. Give them the full menu by including this menu item that had been erroneously omitted.
Patrick Amimo, KTN News.
All right, so McDonald Mariga is waiting for the verdict. Tomorrow he will be knowing whether or not he will be on that ballot paper. There seems to be a lot of things happening, but most of them seem to be little blunders by the Jubilee Party. So we understand that voter registration is supposed to be continuous according to the Kenyan Constitution 2010. But the Elections Act also says that in a by-election, in the case of a by-election, the voter registration must be stopped in that particular electoral unit, and that is what's happening, or what happened in Kibra. That's why McDonald Mariga had to go and register in another constituency. Let me bring in the gang and to try and analyze this. I have with me lawyer and political strategist Kipchumba Karori. I have with me political analyst Brian Mutie and political risk analyst Dismas Mokua. Lawyer Ishmael Nyaribo is joining us in a few seconds. But Bonakili, if I can start with you, what if you can just paint for us a picture of what's happening, these statutory blunders that we're seeing from Jubilee Party, is it to be expected from a major party, getting such a person into politics in the manner in which he has gotten in?
The right to field a candidate of their choice belongs to Jubilee as a political party. You can't take it away from them. But also, that's why they have a nomination process, whereby they counter-check all the items that have been listed by IBC. They make sure that a candidate has conformed with that before they forward the name. And therefore, for a party of Jubilee stature, it is not possible to do a mistake like the one we are trying to be told it happened, because it has the machinery, it is the ruling party. Therefore, it is near impossible for them to forward a candidate who is not registered in the first place, as it was said by the Beatrice Muli. But as we have seen from whatever has been done in the Dispute Resolution Committee, it was demonstrated that Mariga appeared on the 26th of August at Kariako Social Hall, and he was indeed registered and issued with an acknowledgement slip, which is unimpeached. The 2016 amendment of the Elections Act says that upon registration, a person is supposed to be given, and that slip, acknowledgement slip, it is an acknowledgement that indeed you have registered.
But is that a fact, though, Bonakili? Because I understand that an acknowledgement slip is an acknowledgement of the first step of registration.
The problem is
because there are things that you bring in as you want to register as a voter. So once you get that registration slip, the IBC then goes through all those things. It doesn't mean it's the final step. It's just the beginning of that process.
No. That was the position prior to 2016, before the law reform that took place in our electoral system. Okay. You have to understand that our electoral laws are the most dynamic laws. If you are to look today at our penal code, it has not been changed as much as our electoral laws have been changed. Therefore, the position that was there in 2012, the 2012 Elections Act, provided that we shall have what we called a principal register. That is when the Kethi Kilonzo position was anchored. But when we come to the law that is standing now provides that after your registration, you will be issued after the registration. Okay. It does not say that this slip is a sign that you have begun registration. No, the law says after registration. And when we go back to Article 83, Subarticle 3, it says that administrative reasons shall not deny eligible voter his registration, or a eligible person his right to be a registered voter, because that one tempers with the rights of that person, the Article 38, his political rights to vote and to be eligible to be voted for as a candidate. And in the case of Mariga, what will not happen in the case of Mariga, and what the public must understand, is that it is only in Kibra, the electoral area of Kibra, that registration of voters froze. Yes. The other 289 constituencies, up to this morning,
it's ongoing.
This is ongoing.
All right. So, but you're saying the Jubilee Party did not have all these blunders, but you also understand that when he was registering on that 26th of August, he did not have his national ID. He had to send one of his aides to go get it, and then he did not sign that acknowledged slip itself, which seems to be a blunder on the part of the IEBC. But why are we seeing all these little blunders in this?
It is because we have zoomed in into this one case, Ben. If you are to go when the mass voter registration is happening, there are various blunders. At times somebody photocopies one part of his ID. Right. That is why we know there are normally other steps that are done to regularize the process. But again, there is what we call the biometrics. You might have forgotten to sign, but the moment your biometrics are in the KIMS kit, you are in that. And then again, Ben, there is something that we must know. When the law was amended to remove the word principal register, what came up is what we call the register of voters. There is a ward register, there is a constituency register, and there is a county and national register. Anywhere where a voter is found, even if your name is found in the ward register, you are a registered voter. And when we look at the definition of a voter register, it involves the electronic gadgets which those names are.
All right, away from the nitty-gritties of Mariga's registration as a voter in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, Brian, good to have you back on the show. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a while.
What is your take on this Mariga-Kibra situation inside the Jubilee Party?
First of all, I think I have to sympathize with this guy because his prayers is to see himself actually representing the people of Kibra in that certain political sphere. But it's unfortunate that he's suffering because of laws which lawyers would say are clear, or the law is clear, yet we can see the law is not clear when it comes to addressing this particular pertinent issue of Mariga. Of course, as Wakili Karoli has indicated on Article 83, Sub-Article 3, no candidate should suffer simply because of maladministration or issues to do with administrative issues within the precincts of IEBC itself. And therefore, he himself, I think he has complied with whatever he needed to comply with, apart from the small nitty-gritties that you have actually indicated, which can be ironed out at the, within the desk of IEBC itself. Essentially, according to the law, IEBC's role is actually to ensure that a candidate go or transits through all the processes to ensure and arrive at a point where he is clear or clean to actually vie for a political seat. Their role is to facilitate that particular person, but not to actually put some bottlenecks and stabs on the way for that particular candidate. And that's why we say there's always that pre-nomination or sort of committee which comes before the submission of this document or before candidate
Which we are told, by the way, we understand that the IEBC never had it with Mariga because they called the party, and so they did not, the Jubilee Party did not leave Mariga's contact. They called Jubilee Party, nobody was picking up, so did not have that session with Mariga.
But Ben, there is a blunder there. The normal way of communicating with a political party, the one that is known, I have been in the business of political parties and IEBC for a while, is normally through email. When you allow candidates to come or not to come, it leaves another issue. What if today a candidate has a funeral in their rural home, and you are saying you are trying to conduct them, they are somewhere in Kedong? Will you now deregister that candidate just because they didn't pick their phone? No, I think IEBC needs to put it out in order to an extent that we have best practice where we know. I write an email to Jubilee.
But which is faster, Bonakili, a call or an email?
No, a call is neither here nor there, because an email, there will be evidentiary value. But when you say, I put a call to you, how sure are we the call was there in the first place? I think that reasoning that you can call candidates is escapist. Email these candidates. When you look at those forms, and
so what are you saying? Are you saying IEBC is malicious?
Just a second.
Because it did not have a sitting with Mariga.
I'm not pointing toward that direction, but there is a weaknesses in terms of administration of the returning officer. When you communicate to candidates in a manner that does not reflect consistency, it calls into question your judgment of events.
All right. Let me pick it up from where I was actually before Karoli interjected. I think having said that, what I know is that IEBC is actually trying to lock out Mariga from the by-elections on a wrong premise. The issue that they are saying that is not a registered vote, I think should not suffice, because he, as a voter or as a potential voter, he complied with all the statutory obligations that he ought to do. It was not his duty to ensure that his name has gone through all the processes, through the kids and so on, through the biometrics, and it's reflected at the end. His role, his duty, or his endeavors normally stop with the point of contact where he went ahead and ensured that he has provided all the details that were required, and he registered, he was given a slip. So if the other processes within the IBC itself were not adhered to, then that's his problem. So that's why I'm saying IBC is actually pursuing the wrong premise in terms of blocking this candidate. In fact, if I were to advise IBC, they ought to pursue something we call eligibility of this candidate, whether he actually meets the threshold of somebody who is supposed to vie for this particular seat in Kibra. Because when you look at the Elections Act that we already have under Section 5, 1, 2, 3, it clearly stipulates that a candidate is supposed to register as a voter within or outside the declaration of that vacancy of that particular electoral unit. Mariga went ahead and did a right thing.
Maybe he has himself to blame for leaving this too late.
I think sure, I do agree with you. He left it too late.
But what do you think is the political ramification of this? Now the people of Kibra, because of all this drama, have known that, in fact, he did not vote in the last election, maybe ever.
Yeah.
Does that affect
his candidature and the weight of his candidature? You are right. You are very much right on that, Benny, because it has a huge implications on his nature as a person, whether he really meant something serious for the people of Kibra, even before the previous elections were conducted, because somebody who was at the heart of the people in his mind normally works with those people even during times when there is no political battles. But this is a clear suggestion that Mariga is not on his own on this one, according to my opinion, that it's perhaps is being pushed by some quarters to go, yet he is not meeting some few statutory obligations here and there. Because, for example, when you look at the issue of ID, this is a huge document, that substantive document that somebody
we'll get into
that
the politics
should not be missing. And therefore, to me, I think Mariga ought to actually done a good homework, whether he was really ready for this particular seat. And if he was pushed by these particular forces, he ought to have stood his ground and say, I'm not ready for this.
Dismas, what do you think about what's been unfolding as the people of Kibra wait for that verdict tomorrow?
Well, for a long time we've said that IBC needed to create predictable systems for unpredictable outcomes. It actually seems that these systems exist, and it's only the officers who do not implement the systems. And at this level, one has to congratulate Beatrice Muli for what she did, because she went through the voters register and looked for Mariga's name, did not find the name, and told Mariga, I'm afraid you're not qualified. Now, what Jubilee is treating us is as good as those South American soaps you watch on TV when you are bored, because there's no way a political party in the league of Jubilee would actually vet a candidate whose name does not appear in the voters register. So when the electoral board was meeting, what did they do? Did they engage in any due diligence? That's number one. Then number two, how can a man in the league of Mariga who's broken into the, understand he does soccer at the highest level or he's done it at the highest level, how do you go to register as a voter without your ID or passport? I mean, are the IBC officials supposed to look at you? They say, yes, we know this gentleman, top league player, you are not going to be registered. That indicates a bit of casualness in how he's approaching this issue. And also the fact that he wants to represent the people of Kibra, and at his age, again, his age is a bit of a mystery. He's never ever participated in an electoral process. He's never participated in a democratic process. He's never voted. So, when you bring all these factors together, then you come to one conclusion, that Mariga is supposed to offer some sort of a nuisance value in the Kibera election. Because if really he was very serious about this thing, the first thing he would have done is to get his passport in order or the ID, then go register as a voter, and then go through the entire process to be sure that his name appears. Because anytime you go register today, when you approach the election, IBC puts up an announcement that please go confirm that your details in fact appear. So I think that acknowledgement slip is not sufficient. If it's going to be a sufficient proposition, then we'll have all our neighbors, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, all of them will come register here, and then they take part in the electoral process. So for me, I think really, what are the people who are pushing him, and obviously appears like a project, the people who are pushing him, they want to show Raila Odinga that in as much as you've ignored us in this handshake, we can give you something called nuisance value. So he's only going in for nuisance value.
All right. Let me ask you this. That question of being a project is one that he has had to endure from the press all along. Do you think he's being pushed? Because when you look at the people who took him to the IEBC, the party, the stature of the Jubilee Party,
one side of
it was a first-time member of parliament from Langata and a former senator were the ones who flanked him as he went there. Do you think he is a project?
You see, Ben, if in the unlikely event that I declare my interest in running for MP and I go to IBC and then there are issues, I'm the only supposed to address the gentlemen. I'm the only supposed to be addressing the returning officers. I'm the only supposed to be addressing the media. So when these questions were coming up, very pertinent and hot issues about his registration, he referred the first set of questions to the one MP, and then the second set of questions to a former senator. And when the journalists really said, no, you are the person who is running. You are the one who is supposed to be answering this question. Then his answer was very casual. No, his answer was very casual. He said, Mheshimiwa amesema. So it looks like this gentleman has no insurable interest in his candidature. For instance, I mean, you've got a property. The only person who can pay premiums for that property, the only person who can insure is the owner of the property. But it seems to me that Mariga has no insurable interest in his candidature because he has approached it in a very casual manner. But assuming that because he's a rich man and rich men tend to have people doing their stuff, then he needed to have somebody with a checklist to ensure that you've got your ID right, to ensure that you've got your passport, your name is in the register and everything. So at this stage for Brian here to say that IBC may be wanting to lock out Mariga as a candidate, that again sounds like voodoo logic. Because for Beatrice Muli, our duty is to check out whether the name is in the register. And you know, the beautiful thing is, she also admitted on TV that there's a high chance that she may be held criminally culpable for this if she accepts the name to go through. Yeah. So it means that, in fact, all the messes IBC has been doing, the IBC officials know that the criminal responsibilities on their shoulders, but they still go ahead and commit mistakes.
Brian, what is your take? Why do you think he's being pushed?
Let me have a rebuttal on what he has, the last statement that he has made, that Madam Muli was right actually to declare that Mariga is not eligible voter. Let me tell him that it's not the duty or it's not the business of Mariga to go into, to poke his nose and understand how the process works within the Jubilee itself. His duty as a potential voter, and when he presents all the credentials and they accept it, and is given an acknowledgement receipt to the fact that as evidence that he has submitted all the documents.
But he's a member of Jubilee Party. Well, from the 26th anyway.
But what we are saying here, when you block a candidate simply because of administrative issues within Jubilee, within IBC itself, that's a mistake, because I cannot help, as a potential voter, I cannot help IEBC to clear its mess within itself. It's their duty to ensure systems are working and ensuring that once a candidate presents his credentials as a potential voter, he is cleared through the systems in the right way, and the reflection of the name at the tail end is reflected. And therefore, you just need to sympathize with this gentleman, because is that casualty you are talking about, that casualty within IBC, how it has handled this issue, that it is negating negatively against this candidate.
In your view between Mariga and IBC, who's more casual?
I think it's IBC, because first of all, I want to tell you that before even we start talking about the by-elections of Kibra, we ought to have started talking about whether IEBC is properly constituted according to the law, whether it has the mandate
by-election?
Yes, because there were those issues.
But that's a Pandora's box. I don't want to get into. Because of time, I want to get Wakili's thoughts on the thoughts that Mariga is being pushed by somebody, that is a project of somebody in Jubilee.
Ben, I don't know what fascination we have as a country with projects. One that I am sure of, as a person is that Mariga is a project of Jubilee Party because we have seen the party pushing his name. But whereas what the media and some quarters want us to know is why are we trying to brand Mariga? There are 23 or 24 candidates in that race. But the wisdom behind just finding fault on Mariga is what I don't understand.
Okay,
because
if you look at
it this way, there are other 3 candidates who are locked out. But the media has not gone checking why those 3 candidates were locked out.
Because
they carry the IDs.
Is the biggest party in this
but
country.
The issue is you need to bring the full picture.
Okay, let me ask you this. Jubilee and ODM are the biggest parties in this by-election, right?
Yes.
When you look at the ODM candidate when he was presenting his papers, he had the party secretary general there. He had a few senior members of that political party, and even the party leader himself came at some point. In Jubilee, that did not happen.
But Ben, if the media showed me the right pictures, when Mariga was handed over the nomination ticket by Jubilee, it was done by the party Secretary General, the Assistant Secretary General was there, the Vice Chairman was there, not Vice Chairman, the Organizing Secretary Waluke has a position in the party. All those people were there. What were their role? The other thing is this, we cannot force Jubilee just because ODM brought their party leader to that thing. Jubilee's party leader is Uhuru Kenyatta.
Not party leader, even the chairman of the elections board, the elections board.
But the chairman of the elections board announced Mariga's name in a press conference which was addressed by Mariga. The other thing is this, away from the optics, there is a question we need to ask ourselves. After all this, the Mariga hubris are settled, the question that how updated is the voters register or the voters registers in this country? If today there is a gentleman who said something in that in that committee, he said I exported Mariga's name as required by the law from Karioko
2 weeks ago
to Nyayo.
It's 2 weeks
ago, in the regional whatever the regional offices. My question is this: as a Kenyan, what do we expect Mariga to do? To go and camp in Nyayo to see that his name has been updated, or to go to France where the company that Mofo
maybe to register early in good time?
No. The other thing is this, Ben. Let me just help the viewers with one thing. As long as IDs are still being issued, the voter registration should continue. It is not what Kipchumba wishes. It is constitutional standard.
Fair enough. Let's leave it there. It's a situation, a story we are keeping an eye on for you. That verdict on Mariga's candidature, whether or not he is eligible to vie for the Kibra parliamentary seats, will be known tomorrow. Let's take a quick commercial break. Here on Inside Politics, we are back.